end of the season fast approaching, plus a deep dive into two rival quarterbacks with a special connection as they prepare to go head-to-head for the first time. And in our game of the week, Unioto looks to defend their conference crown from the high-flying Paint Valley offense.
All that and more because Gridiron Glory starts right now. Y'all thought the stakes were high last week? Well, this week they're only getting higher. Nothing is guaranteed, and the conference titles are on the line. Welcome back to Gridiron Glory. I'm digital host Donovan Varney, filling in for Haley Hollinger, and tonight we've got every pivotal matchup around the SEO coming at you in the next 30 minutes. So let's take a peek at what we're getting into tonight. We're going to see 6 different conferences across Southeast Ohio and an additional 4 more in the extra point. And in the TVC Hawking, Waterford tries to hold off Trimble to maintain their spot as the front runner. And speaking of the Wildcats and the Tomcats, let's start there. These are two teams that are no strangers, and it comes in games like these. And joining us to tell us about it right now is TVC Hawking reporter Ty Carpenter.
Donovan, with the TVC Hawking all knotted up, we're looking at what is one of the biggest games of the year in the fight for the conference title. Both Trimble and Waterford enter tonight with a chance to clinch a share of the conference. The Tomcats can pave the way for a 3-way tie, while the Wildcats look to stand alone at the top. And if you're a fan of defense, these two teams did not disappoint you. First drive for Waterford, red zone, 4th and 8. Hayden Jones is going to roll out to the right and throw towards the end zone, but just a bit too high, give the Tomcats the ball. And they're not putting that turnover to waste as Brady Jasic keeps it, he sneaks it, and he is in. 6-0 Tomcats in the second quarter. Now, after that long Tomcat drive, Waterford said, let's get a move on as Colton Jones reverses it back to Trevin Zimmer. The defense doesn't know where to look, and he's going to find space down the sideline, running it all the way down for the 65-yard rushing touchdown, 7-6 Waterford. Now, Waterford gets the ball back on an interception, and on the very next play, Hayden Jones launches it to Xavier Heiss, fighting his way in, 14-6 Waterford, just like that. Now, Trimble just before the half, 4th and 6. Jasic is going to throw to the middle, and it's batted down by Trevin Zimmer. 14-6 Wildcats at half. Now, we stayed the whole game, so fast forward to the 4th. Game on the line. Hayden Jones keeps it and runs it himself. 13 yards to the defense, and that's going to ice it as Waterford wins 14-6. Donovan, we knew we were in store for a defensive battle, and that's what these teams delivered.
Yeah, and in games like these, you know both teams gave it their all. Let's take a look at what was clicking tonight. So with two strong defenses facing off, it's no wonder this one was low scoring. What were their defenses doing right tonight?
Honestly, Donovan, it comes down to forcing small mistakes and not letting these offenses capitalize. It took one holding call or a stop in the backfield, and it felt like the drive was just over. Now, we should note that these offenses were moving the ball, but once they hit the red zone, these defenses were on a clinic. Waterford had 3 turnovers on downs, while Trimble had just 2. They just couldn't finish the job.
Okay, so defense aside, if they were moving the ball well, who was sticking it out on offense?
Well, for Trimble, it felt like senior Matthew Moyer was getting that rock every other play. He's taking handoffs, he's stiff-arming Donovan, he was even present in the passing game. And for Waterford, Hayden Jones was a huge threat tonight. His speed on the ground opened up the rest of that offense, and it let guys like Colton Jones get loose. And sometimes it felt like Trimble didn't have an answer for that backfield. And let's not forget about Trevin Zimmer, who had a crucial batted ball on 4th down and a touchdown. These guys were really integral with their win tonight. Now, Donovan, this win puts Waterford at 3-0 in conference, and with it, they're looking to take the conference all for themselves next week against Belpre.
Wow, lots at stake. Thanks, Ty. A Wildcat win means Waterford continues to be undefeated and takes the reins of the conference. And this loss drops the Tomcats to 3rd with 2-2 records, which puts 2-1 Eastern in 2nd place. Southern is 1-2, which makes them 4th, and Belpre sits in 7th. And now making our way through, we've got Marietta and Point Pleasant, where they're rolling right on through their conference in just a few short weeks. And here to tell the tale is TSL reporter Ashley Frack.
Yeah, Donovan, after last week, I think it's safe to say that TSL ball is no joke. And with 2 weeks of conference play down, we only have 1 to go before someone is crowned the TSL champion. And tonight, Marietta and Point Pleasant came to this game hungry for a chance at the top. Point Pleasant made the trip over the bridge from West Virginia for week 2 of conference play, and Marietta welcomed them with an opening drive touchdown. A pass from Drew Warden to Owen Riley to put the Tiger name on the board first. Remember that connection, because here it is again. Gordon drops back, no hesitation, and hits Riley with a 35-yard dime, setting the Tigers up for a field goal, 10-0 Marietta. But Point Pleasant will respond with back-to-back explosive plays. A 29-yard run by Connor Hatton, followed by a 22-yard carry by Isaac Creel, puts Point Pleasant on Marietta's 21. But don't get too comfortable. A Point Pleasant fumble recovered by Owen Riley, who's now on defense and will run the ball 51 yards to the opposite 24. If you're wondering about the sudden cold front in Southeast Ohio, blame Owen Riley because this kid is cold. This play led to a Seth Britton touchdown, 17-0 Tigers. Point Pleasant needs momentum, and a Caden Hill-Ty Holton connection will give it to them. A 42-yard completion and a good field goal with 1 second left in the half would make the game 17-3. But Marietta would not let go of this lead, winning with a final score of 24-3. I said it before, and I'll say it again, TSL is nothing to play about, and tonight just proved that.
Yeah, absolutely. Point Pleasant beat Marietta last year, but tonight was a different story. What happened?
Yeah, I don't even want to dive into the entirety of this game before I talk about Owen Riley from Marietta. This kid is a weapon that Marietta has utilized all season long, and tonight was no exception. We saw in the highlights he had an incredible performance on both sides of the ball and has consistently been the top contributor on this team, and he's only a junior.
Now, I know that Riley is a dog, but what about the rest of this Marietta team?
Yeah, Marietta's defense really stepped up tonight when they needed to the most. Point Pleasant traditionally has a very explosive and hard-to-stop run game, but Marietta took it on the chin and dominated, forcing an unsuccessful pass game from Point all night long. On top of this, little mistakes, including a penalty that called a touchdown back, killed Point tonight.
So this game puts both Marietta and Point Pleasant at 1-1 in the conference. What are we looking at for the rest of TSL play?
Yeah, last year Point Pleasant and Fort Fry shared the inaugural TSL title. If they both would have won tonight, next week's matchup would have been the TSL Conference outright championship game. But we know Point lost to Marietta, and Fort Fry fell to Warren 28-6. This now puts everyone in the TSL at 1-1 in the conference. So next week's Warren-Marietta matchup will make one of the two teams a TSL co-champion for the first time, while Point Pleasant and Fort Fry will fight for a back-to-back co-conference title. I don't think anyone could have predicted tonight, and I know no one will predict next week, but you know we'll be there to see what the TSL does next.
Oh, you know it. Thanks, Ashley. For more on this game and others, make sure you check out our Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube accounts. We're always adding new content like photos, recaps, and highlights throughout the week. And of course, don't forget about the pregame huddle. Segments are released during the week for preview segments of all of our Showtime games. If it's SEO football you're looking for, you know we've got it. Now, the MVO Big features two historic rivals, Sheridan and Tri-Valley. While they've had their differences throughout their 58 consecutive matchups, this year's reprise features a divide in experience in the most important position on the field, the quarterback. MVO reporter Stephen Caroli has more.
That's Tri-Valley's senior quarterback, Max Lyle. Lyle is in his fourth year as a starter and has led the Scotties to 2 MVL Big titles while picking up 2 first-team All-Ohio team nods. And while Lyle is playing his last season in Dresden, an hour away, Tri-Valley's rival, Sheridan, is introducing a new QB to their system. When the Generals reached the regional finals for the first time since 1987 last season, Tice Whiteman was a freshman. The now sophomore took over at quarterback for a Sheridan team that lost 19 seniors from the 2023 run. So far, while Whiteman's led the Generals to a 6-2 record, he is still finding ways to improve every game, especially with the support system around him.
Support from the coaches and my teammates of lifting me up when I make a mistake, like you're good, pick it up. I think just from the standpoint of my teammates and the community of lifting me up.
In Dresden, Lyle has gotten even better his senior season, throwing for over 1,600 yards and 24 touchdowns while leading the Scotties to an 8-0 record so far.
Good catch, Keith. I was afraid with the kid who played so well last year that they might hit a lull and not play as well their senior year, kind of get content. But that's not Max. Max is better than he was last year, if people can believe it.
And while Whiteman and Lyle are now on rival MVL teams preparing for their first head-to-head matchup, the pair has a bond that dates way before their time playing under the Friday night lights.
Me and Tice go way back. His dad was my coach growing up all the way through, and me and Tice are good friends.
I've known him since I was about 5, so we've always had a tight relationship.
But Lyle and Whiteman will put their friendship on halt for Friday's game.
We're not friends on the field, and I think he will say the same thing. So,
or coming up to this game, we're not friends, but after, he's still my friend at the end of the day.
And joining us live now to talk about these two quarterbacks in the game is reporter Stephen Caroli. Stephen, how you doing out there?
A little cold, Donovan, but we're feeling good, especially since Lisle and Whiteman are battling it out for the top of the MVL Big. Tri-Valley has a chance to continue their dominance and keep their perfect season alive, while a win for Sheridan clinches the MVL Big title and avenges a 28-17 loss last season. It was senior night in Dresden. This group has already won 2 MVL Big titles and are looking to add a third. Sheridan on the opening drive of the game. Whiteman throws and it is intercepted by Ryan LaMonica. That's his 7th interception on the year. And it's only fitting on senior night. Lisle with a nice ball to Keaton Hahn, who just breaks the plane. Senior to senior, 7-0 Scotties. After multiple drives, it's Wallace looking for the first down on the ground, but the ball pops out. Huge play. Generals would capitalize with a field goal to end the first half, 7-3 Tri-Valley. Right out of the break, it's Lisle with a beautiful ball to Keaton Hahn. That's the second touchdown of the night for the pair, and that opening drive went 88 yards. And no, you're not having deja vu. It's Lisle with a bomb to none other than Hahn again. Scotties finding their groove, 21-3. The Generals, after scoring, are looking to come back, but Keaton Hahn has his name written all over this game. Making big catches on both sides of the ball, call him Travis Hunter. Scotties take control of the MVL Big and improve to 9-0 with a 21-9 win over Sheridan. Donovan, this game has been going on for quite some time, and it almost never disappoints.
Yeah, there was a ton of big plays, but let's break it down even further. Steven, this game was really tight going into the break. What happened to the Generals?
Donovan, Sheridan really played the first half well. They stopped the run, which forced Lisle and the Scotties offense to look for big plays in the air. That led to big stops in the first half. On offense, Tice Whiteman threw the ball well and connected with Evan Anderson a ton. But at the end of the day, this Scotties offense is too talented and too explosive.
Yeah, the Max Lisle and Keaton Hahn connection was on full display tonight. What else was clicking for the Scotties?
Yeah, Donovan, Hahn and Lisle were outstanding tonight. But as a whole, all facets of the Tri-Valley defense were rolling tonight. Up front, the Scotties put pressure on Whiteman and stopped the run at a high rate. The Scotties also were tested in the air for the first time in quite some time, and they stepped up to the task. 3 interceptions and a ton of red zone stops really helped the Scotties offense as they struggled slightly in the first half. Donovan, the Scotties are hitting their stride right before the playoffs. They could be in for a deep run.
Yeah, they absolutely could. Thanks for the good work, Steven. We'll see you back here soon. With that game all said and done, let's see how things in the MVL Big are looking right now. Tri-Valley carries on undefeated in conference with their win over Sheridan, putting the Generals in second with a 4-1 record, and the Scotties can clinch the conference outright with the win next week against John Glenn. John Glenn and Philo are both 2-2, which makes them tied for third. Morgan is 1-3 in 5th place, and Riverview rounds out the MVL Big in last. Now, if our Showtime games aren't enough for you guys, well, we've got 4 more to get to. So for this week, we'll stay in the MVL and get right into the extra point. In the MVL Small, we've got Crooksville and New Lex going head-to-head tonight. And on the first drive of the game, Panther running back Carson Kellogg breaks a tackle and does his best stop, drop, and roll as New Lex gets in for 6. QB Isaiah Stevens sends one deep to Owen O'Brien to set up another Carson Kellogg score after that. And later on, Crooksville tries to get something going, but they fumble the ball. Bentley Hansen and the Panthers recover and win this one 38-10. New Lexington continues to sit atop the conference with the win tonight, and West Muskingum trails behind them at 3-1. Meadowbrook and Maysville are tied for 3rd, while Coshocton sits at 5th, and Crooksville is in 6th with an 0-4 record. Now heading over to the TVC Ohio, the reigning champs Vinton County hosted Nelsonville York. And the Buckeyes got on the scoreboard quick with Cam Sullivan rolling out and finding his fullback for the first score of the game. Later on, the Buckeyes find the end zone again, but this time it's Austin Gautier on the ground, 13-0 NY. Vinton County tries to make something happen here with Jace Moore heaving one up right off the hands of the DB and into Lane Habron's arms. That'll be a score, but the Buckeyes take it 39-12. The Buckeyes and Athens Bulldogs continue to be neck and neck in first place with an undefeated conference record. It'll come down in the next week to see who wins this one, while Vinton County is in 3rd place with a 3-2 record, and Wellston and Meigs are also tied, but they are in 4th, which puts Alexander in 6th place and River Valley at 7th in the conference.
Now on to our next game. We've got FAC opponents Jackson and Hillsborough. Here's Bodie Wolford with a laser to Ryan Simons, and good luck catching that man because he's taking it all the way. We had to speed it up for y'all. Ironman up 7-0, not even a minute into the game. Wolford's going to do it again, but this time to Tucker Williams. He gets up and comes down with 6. Haven't had enough of the Ironman. Here's some more. A screen pass to Charlie Woodard, and he shakes the defense loose on the way to a Jackson win, 49-0. Which brings us to the FAC now. The Jackson Ironmen have been doing a great job, and they're in first place with a 4-0 record. Washington Courthouse is sitting right behind them at 3-1 in conference, while Miami Trace and Chillicothe are tied for third with 2-2 records respectively. And Hillsborough sits at 5th, and McLean is sitting at 7th place right now. Now on over to the SOC. The Oak Hill Oaks took on the #1 team in the conference, Portsmouth West. Archie the Oak is excited, and for good reason. Eddie Abel is willing and able to get the job done. Oak Hill on the board first, 7-0. That wouldn't last long. The Senators marched right down the field, and Anthony Bishop makes a man miss before tumbling on in to tie the game. And the Senators will remain undefeated in the SOC, spoiling Oak Hill's homecoming night 57-13. Portsmouth West is tied with Wheelersburg for first, and this game is going to come down to next week, week 10, when they face off for that SOC crown. While Waverly sits in third at 3-3, Northwest just jumped up to 4th, while Valley is in 5th, and Minford and Oak Hill are sitting at 6th and 7th place, respectively, inside the conference. As always, I wish we had time for more, but that'll do it for the Extra Point tonight. We'll be back with more next week, but while we're on P West, their conference title chances aren't the only thing that's still alive. The Senators are also still alive in our Jersey Showdown. Those black and orange ones are tight, but we've got 7 other teams remaining that might give them a run for their money. So make sure you pull out those phones and get voting, because voting for the Elite 8 sides A and B will begin next week, and it's up to you guys to decide who comes out on top. Last year, the Hamilton Township Rangers stunned Southeast Ohio by handing the Bloom Carroll Bulldogs their first conference loss in 4 years. And joining us now to talk about another crucial meeting between the two is MSL reporter Charlie Ehlenfeld.
Thanks, Donovan. While the faces on the field are different, the stakes are the same. The MSL Buckeye Conference title. To give you an idea of what's on the line, we need a blast from the past. What better way to set the stage than taking a look at last year's clash for the conference? This matchup between the Bulldogs and Rangers was full of stars from the past and present. Bloom Carroll, behind stars Dylan Armentrout, Broden Bishop, and Jaden Ball, highlighted a stacked roster. They went back and forth with Hamilton Township all night, but it was not enough. In the final minutes, the Rangers pulled away behind star quarterback Josh Woods. A late missed field goal sealed a 31-28 upset and a share of the conference crown for Hamilton Township. Tonight was a rematch between two of the best in the conference, quarterbacks Javon McBride and Ethan Thanthanabong. McBride reminded Bloom Carroll why he gave their defense fits last year, shaking one man before slashing through the Bulldog defense, eluding the final defender for 6, Rangers up 7-0. The Bulldogs struck back swiftly as Bo Sherman raced through the gap and goes untouched into the end zone to even the score at 7 apiece. On Bloom's very next drive, there might be clear skies, but here is a rainbow from Ethan Thanthanabong to Rusty Hutchinson, 80 yards, and they were never close to catching him. 14-7 Bulldogs ahead. The electric special teams of Bloom struck again tonight as Devin Ash blocked the kick, and we've got to speed this one up as he took it the length of the field to extend the Bulldog lead to 21-7. And their 2-minute drill, it only took Thanthanabong 45 seconds to find Rusty Hutchinson, who shakes 2 defenders, and he completely broke free for another lengthy score as Bloom avenged last year's loss in outstanding fashion, routing Hamilton Township 42-7.
I mean, wow, Charlie. I mean, Carroll had a great game, but that got out of hand pretty quickly for Hamilton Township.
Yeah, 42 unanswered points is a disastrous finish, and their lead evaporated just as fast as they took it.
So how did Bloom Carroll corral a unit that is averaging 50 points in their last 2 games?
Bloom Carroll is a bend-don't-break defense. Despite the Rangers entering the red zone 3 times in the first half, they left without a single point on those drives. The veteran defensive line of the Bulldogs stonewalled any attempt to break it to the second level.
Yeah, that wasn't the only reason the Rangers struggled on offense. I heard they were missing quarterback Lucas King.
Yeah, the absence of King hurts them in more ways than one. Javon McBride is a wide receiver 1, and at some points, he was better off throwing it to himself. McBride demonstrated his ability, but it simply was not enough. They lost any ability to stretch the field, and they certainly need some more time to figure out their offensive scheme behind McBride in place of King.
Yeah, lots of good guys for the Bulldogs tonight, but there certainly was one standout for Bloom Carroll, right?
Rusty Hutchinson, the wide receiver, dominated with 2 touchdowns beyond 50 yards in the first half. Not to mention the yards after catch. On his second touchdown, Hutchinson got 50 yards in yak. Bloom Carroll wraps up another conference title and another dominant year in the MSL Buckeye.
Thanks, Charlie. Another impressive season for Jeremy McKinney and company in Carroll. Now, with this win, the Bulldogs clinch the MSL Buckeye. Fairfield Union is 4-2, which makes them second. Logan Elm and Hamilton Township are tied for third with a 3-2 record. Amanda Clear Creek is in fifth place at 2-3. And Circleville is in sixth at 1-4, while Liberty Union rounds out the conference with one more chance at a conference win. Now, switching gears, let's jump to a conference that's standings look vastly different than they did last year, the OVC. OVC reporter Lucy Schaefer joins us now to tell us all about it.
Yeah, Donovan, with Ironton out of the conference and Galley Academy falling short of a top spot, new contenders have emerged for that OVC title. Tonight, number 1 faced off with number 3 at Fairland, and the two teams tied for 4th met for the 87th time at Rock Hill. Two games with high implications for the conference race, so let's get into it. First, we're going to Proctorville, where Fairland wants their first OVC title in 11 years. The quarterback Ethan Wall not playing tonight, so the Dragons will look to Jack Payton, and he doesn't disappoint, finding Xander Collins early in that first quarter. 6 points for the Dragons. Now Colgrove gets that chance, but CJ Graham is there and falls right on top of that one. And here's the first drive. Gets the ball back. Peyton Graham looks to Graham, who shows us what he can do on offense. Let's speed that up because he'll dodge defenders and run 73 yards for another score, showing us that Fairland is title and playoff ready at 22-0 Dragons. And this is how the half ends. Jack Payton deciding to take it himself. He celebrates after making it 36-0 going into half. The Dragons fly to a win 36-8. Now let's take a trip over to Rock Hill. Chesapeake coming off a 57-12 victory against Galley Academy last week, and Rock Hill's Anthony Stamper needing just 195 more yards to break the school's record for single-season rushing yards. First play of the game, and it's Stamper putting himself 50 yards closer to that record. 3 plays after that, quarterback Dallin Cox giving Rock Hill the first score of the game with a 1-yard QB sneak. And here's the first drive for the Panthers. Jacob Harris finding a wide-open Ethan Kearns in the end zone for 7 yards, and the first score for Chesapeake. Rock Hill gets down the field on their second possession, and it's Stamper again, 13 yards for a touchdown, and that record is looking real close for that senior running back. 28-14 at the half, and Rock Hill will win 60-43. Stamper breaks that record with 1,398 yards. Now, even with these games, we don't see a ton of movement in the standings. Fairland stays on top with their dominant win, and Portsmouth breezed by South Point 41-0. With their loss, Colgrove is now tied with Rock Hill for third. These two teams will play next week, and that's definitely one to keep your eye on. Chesapeake and South Point make 5-6, and Galley Academy rounds it out after a 49-10 loss at Ironton.
Thanks for all the good work, Lacey. That conference is really going to be shaken up next week. We'll see what happens. Now, there were also a lot of toss-ups across our games this evening. Let's see you guys at home voted. You guys seem to get this one. 86% of you picked Fairland over Colgrove tonight, and you nailed it. But make sure you check out our Instagram on Thursday evenings to cast your vote and make your best game predictions. All right, after that one, maybe you'll go for two for two. Let's see, 70% chose Rock Hill, and that's right. And luckily for y'all, you go 3 for 3 in a close one after Unioto's victory tonight. Now that brings us to our game of the week, the Paint Valley Bearcats versus the Unioto Shermans. And this one may just have had the most intense implications we've seen all night. Here to break it down is SVC reporter Zachary Knight.
Yeah, Donovan, both these teams have a lot on the line tonight. Unioto's looking to defend their conference title while Paint Valley is fighting for their own piece of the crown. It's been a long season for both teams, so let's break it down. Let's start with Unioto. They started the season against Vinton County with a commanding win. The next week they picked up their first and only loss against Amanda Clear Creek, but they've pushed through the rest of the SVC without a loss. On the other side, Paint Valley entered conference play undefeated and kept it rolling in SVC play until they met Piketon, who shocked the Bearcats and gave them their only conference loss. After Unioto's win against Zane Trace last week, they sit atop the conference and now battle with the second-place Bearcats to defend the throne. Sherman helmets are in the air and we are off. First drive of the game ended with a TD from a quick handoff to Cody Braden, who got things moving early and often for the Shermans. Bearcats take it the other way, but Caden Cartwright says not on my watch and picks off the pass, taking it down and getting the offense back on the field. One play later, and Braden is back at it for his second touchdown of the night, but spoiler alert, he's not done. Later in the quarter, he's going for the three-peat, chopping through the Bearcat defense and putting the Shermans up 21-0. In the second, Isaac Coy needs to find a man down there, and Levi Bean is right where he needs to be for this big catch. He works around that defense to get the Shermans down to 1st and goal. Next play, Coy holds onto the ball and finds his way around some tough Bearcat obstacles to bring it in, expanding the commanding lead for the Shermans, and a 2-point conversion makes it even bigger, 29-0. Believe it or not, we're still not done. Fumble recovery puts the ball back in the Shermans' hands, and Coy finds Blake Hoops for another Sherman touchdown before the clock hit 0 on the half. The Tanks rolled into this one ready to go, defending their spot at the top of the SVC and refusing to let the Bearcats scratch back, wrapping this one up with a final score of 43-0.
I mean, wow, how about that game for the Shermans? They dominated.
Yeah, they just kept running it up all night.
Yeah, so what helped them get going tonight?
Yeah, this was really a momentum game for the Shermans. They started off hot and didn't let up on the Bearcats even a little bit. Their high-flying offense just kept setting them up for big plays and easy touchdowns, and the Bearcat defense couldn't shut them down. On the other hand, they kept capitalizing on little mistakes from Paint Valley and capitalizing big time. Fumbles and interceptions very quickly turned into big gains, setting them up for success all night.
Okay, Zachary, somebody had to say it. That does not seem like the same Paint Valley team we've been seeing all season.
Yeah, not at all. They pulled off some dominant performances early on, and this has been their best offense in school history. They really struggled to get anything going with that offense tonight, and they didn't have a lot of opportunities to light up the scoreboard. This was a team that was on the AP rankings in their region and went undefeated for the first 6 weeks of their season.
Okay, you know it, I know it. There's 1 week left in the regular season. How is this conference going to shake out?
Yeah, Unioto currently sits atop this conference and only have Southeastern in the way of back-to-back conference titles and back-to-back seasons of undefeated conference records. They came back and showed that the SVC really is theirs to win. Paint Valley's now in a fight for second place with one final game against the current runner-ups in the SVC, the Zane Trace Pioneers. Should make for a good game next week. We'll have to see how the Bearcats bounce back against Zane Trace.
Yeah, we will. It'll be a good one for sure. Thanks so much, Zach. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at, like Zach mentioned, Unioto is perfect in conference and in first place right now. Zane Trace, on the other hand, is in second, while Paint Valley and Piketon are tied for third place. Westfall sits at fourth, followed by Adena and Huntington, and are tied for 6th place. Paint Valley and Zane Trace play next week, so there's still time for a bit of a shakeup. And now it's finally time for your guys' top plays of the night. I know you guys are waiting for it, and it's finally here. While yes, we did cover a lot of football, what you're about to see next is going to be the best of the best, the absolute best plays we have seen tonight, so I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's get right into it. Now, coming in at number 5 is a play from Bloom Carroll and Hamilton Township's game. You guys know this guy's name pretty well by now, and here he is, Ethan Thanthanavong, stepping into it and absolutely airing it out. That's his guy, Rusty Hutchinson, and that's an 80-yard score. How about that for those dogs right there? Now, moving on to number 4, we've got a monster run coming out of the SOC. Somebody must have taken this guy's candy because Portsmouth West running back Mason Parker is mad. He's shedding off guys like Dog Hair because he's got that dog in him all the way to the house for our number 4 play. And now here's number 3 from the Fairland Dragons offense. What starts out as a simple screen pass turns into this. That's wide receiver CJ Graham. He gets some blocks from the big fellas up front and uses his legs for the rest. Nothing but green in front of him. And how about those linemen chugging all the way down the field for their guy? You love to see it. That's a house call for CJ and the Dragons for our number 3 play. And now at number 2, I've never seen a QB move like this. Unioto's Isaac Coy does his best Marshawn Lynch impression, bulldozing the defenders. My goodness, Isaac. And here it is, our number 1 play of the night. Y'all saw this earlier, but you'll see it again. It was that good. Vikings QB Jace Moore airs one out to Lane Habron in double coverage. The ball is tipped right off his hands and into the defender. And what a play. I mean, so much at stake in week 9. And that play was just, I mean, we had lots of good top plays, but that play right there, that'll do it for me right there. I love to see the tip drill and everything is just good. But like I said, much at stake in week 9, and this week just most certainly delivered. But week 10 might be even better. For previews of those matchups, check me out on the pregame huddle every Thursday and Friday. And for even more content from us, check out our X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and woub.org/gridiron. Our host Haley Hollinger will be back next week, and we'll close out the regular season with a bang. But until then, remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.
Support comes from Dean Heating and Cooling, keeping homes cool all summer with Tempstar. Dean Heating and Cooling provides HVAC service and installation in the Athens area, featuring Tempstar quality you can feel. Support comes from O'Neill Hartman Insurance, a full-service, third-generation, locally owned agency focusing on building personal relationships and providing professional service to individuals and businesses. Information on the web and on Facebook. Support comes from Ohio's 529 College Advantage, helping families save tax-free for college and career training nationwide for 35 years. Information on Ohio's 529 can be found at collegeadvantage.com/Bobcats. Additional support from Donato's Pizza, featuring pizza, subs, salads, and catering from their Athens location at 688 East State Street. Information at donatospizza.com or 740-592-5049.